What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Facility Management Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Javier. And this next episode, what I want to do is, this has been kind of interesting. There's other podcast episodes I want to do and talk about, but this concept that I was just listening to a podcast from the Exit 5 podcast with Dave Gerhardt. He goes by DG. And he's a marketer that I truly look up to and aspire to be at his level. I feel like I'm probably a couple notches below him in working my way in that direction. The dude has paved the way very well, and he's amazing. So if you don't follow him on LinkedIn, you should. He's a super smart guy, puts out great stuff. But he was interviewed by one of his clients that he does consulting for. And so he now he's like a solopreneur. He runs a one-man show. He used to be a CMO for a couple of different big companies. And so he's been very successful in his own right. Humongous following on LinkedIn with 120, 130,000 followers. Building his audience on Twitter and Instagram. And he's just doing it cool. It's fun to see. I started following him back in 2019, and I don't know how I bumped into it, but I was just kind of dabbling into LinkedIn, and then found his stuff. I'm like, this guy's kind of interesting, and I kind of liked it, and I just kept following him, listening, and just all that stuff. And then one thing led to another, and now I'm in his world. So anyways, the episode was about building a media company. And it's funny that he's talking about that because I'm doing presentations at these franchise expos recently. And one of the things that I do is I talk about is building a media company and how it's one of the most important things that a company could do right now. So if you're a B2B company, that's kind of, you guys. If you're a facility management company or property management company, ultimately your goal should be to just build a media company. That is it. That's your number one goal. Build a media company. And you might have heard that term before. Hold on one second. I'm going to take some water. You might have heard that term before about building a media company. And you might be like, that's really difficult, Javier. That's a lot of work. That takes a lot of stuff. It really isn't that hard. I mean, it is work, but it's not impossible. That's what we strive to do at Rapmate, is building a media company, and we're getting closer every day the way we're producing content. And so we have different layers of that, and we need to get better at it, but we have different layers. And with that, media is everything. Okay? So let's first define what a media company is. A media company is a company that is producing valuable content that people care about and engage with. So, and you're producing content that is not necessarily there to sell, but you're producing content to educate, to inspire, to give direction, to help make decisions, do you see what I'm trying to get to? So you're building stuff that people actually care about. I just saw the post office truck go by, and it's like 8:30 right now. And I'm like, what are they doing now at 8:30? Don't know. Not my problem. There's two of them now. So a media company is that. It's that they're producing content that people actually value and care about. And that is what you should be doing. And so that can be done in different ways. It can be done with hosting a podcast. And that's what I'm doing right now with this podcast. With Facility Management Marketing Podcast, is I'm hosting a podcast and I'm trying to build an audience. And that's the other part about, building a media company, is that you're trying to build an audience that people actually listen to, and they're like, these dudes know what they're talking about. And when you build that audience, you don't sell and pitch on the service that you offer. You educate on all the things that encompass that are part of the service and not even part of the service. So I'm an expert in marketing, okay? And so I don't talk about hey, buy my services as a fractional CMO. I don't talk about that. I mean, I'll do it in some of my podcast episodes, but it's not the key topic. But I talk about elements about about marketing in my podcast. And so my audience is Oh, that's really cool. He knows about this. Oh, that's awesome. He's an expert about this. Oh, wow. He talks about this. Oh, that's really cool. He does this too. Oh, he's done this before. Excellent. And so in this podcast, I'm building an audience of people that actually engage with my content, and they're like, that is really dope, and I want to learn more. That's what a media company is. And so you can do this several different ways. Like, my number one way of building a media company is podcasting. And so and I've made this very clear. Like, my goal when I launched this podcast in January of 2022 was to just basically produce 12 months worth of content, 102 episodes or 104 episodes, and make it just really good stuff that people are like, wow, this is really badass. And people are engaging with it, and sell nothing. And yes, I probably should be monetizing this, but like, my entire purpose was to build trust, was to show that I knew what I was talking about, was to give so much out there and give so much to everybody else that people are like, wow, this is really, really good and valuable. And then all of a sudden people start sharing it and the podcast starts growing. And so that was my intent. And so I built this strategy of just building a media company, and we're doing the same thing with like Rapmate, and you should be doing the same thing with your company. I'm not telling you to start a podcast. I'm telling you to think of your company as a media company, whether that is producing blogs that are very detailed and descriptive, that just lays out on how to really help facility managers do better jobs in doing X, Y, and Z. Like, that's one piece. Or creating video content on YouTube that is just super amazing and powerful and engaging, that trains and educates on how to how to improve your property management team and that sort of stuff, like that sort of stuff. Okay, so where I'm coming from is that you are producing stuff that is so valuable, that is not trying to pitch, but you're educating so much that they only think of you whenever they need that service. And so you're like, well, that's like a long play. Like, you don't know if they're ever going to call you. Yeah, no kidding. That's the point. It's if you would have started blogging 10 years ago, today you would be crushing it right now. If you would have started blogging 10 years ago, like, I was blogging in my when I had my studio, I was blogging in 2007. And then essentially it started tapering down as the years went on. But by like 2016 or 17, when I had my blog or my website transferred over to this other company, I think he had to pay someone to transfer over almost 300 blog posts. 300 blog posts. He had to transfer all that over. And he's like, this is insane. Like, he's like, of all people, you totally crushed this whole content game, and no wonder why you rank so high for all these other things. I'm like, well, that's kind of what I do. And but I created a media company not knowing that I was doing that. And then I would post cool videos of like my kids doing cool stuff on YouTube, and it built a following and people started engaging with it. Like, it was all those cool things. And that's what you should be doing. You should be educating your audience to where, like, the people that you're talking to, they don't feel like they're being sold and pitched. They feel like they're being, like, you're telling them a story that's something that's compelling, that like people want to actually listen to. Like a friend. Like, people probably listen to this podcast and they're like, man, I like this Javier guy because he just tells it how it is, and he's just chill, and he tells us so much good, valuable things, and he's giving us like insider tips on how to do this and that and the other. And that's like that's the thing that, like, I'm trying to get our team to understand. Like, I'm trying to build at Rapmate is I'm trying to build a media company. And how are we doing that? Well, we're doing that different ways. Okay. We have really fucking awesome pictures of a lot of our wraps that we do. Okay. And we publish that and we share that with other people. We need to do more. Okay. But that's one. All right. Another way that we are building a media company is we're creating a lot of great content on that people search and actually engage with. Like, they basically are like, type it in like, can you wrap a car that's dented? and we are on the top of the search engines for that. Like we posted, that content, we had it written, and it's good, and people read it. Okay, like that's another piece. I know press releases aren't the best thing, but we'll publish press releases about educating about what we're offering, but then when we start talking about it, we don't shove it down people's throat. We educate when we say, hey, the reason why like this service is so good for your company is because it does this and this and this. We go to trade shows and start, networking with, other franchisors, and we talk about, what they're currently doing and learn about them. And then we somehow slip in what we're doing. They're like, oh, that's really cool. And you can do this as well too. And wow, that's really interesting. I didn't know that could be done. And then all of a sudden they're educated on us. They're like, we need to do business together. We need to chat. And that's the next step of it. You see what I'm saying? So where I'm coming from is that building a media company can be looked at in so many different ways, but it's all about creating that audience of people that people want to engage with and they want to be part of your world. Okay. And then you're producing stuff that people actually care about. If you start doing that for your facility and property management company, things will start shifting and changing. Okay. And so this can easily be done. I know I keep going to the podcasting, but that's my platform. That's what I do. All right. Start a podcast. I kid you not, I think I'm the 6th podcast in the facility space. I shit you not when I say that, the 6th. Okay. And 2 of them are mine. All right. One no longer even hasn't produced an episode in over 2.5 years, and 2 of them are mine. This one right here that's active, and another one. Okay, that one's called Facility and Property Management Secrets Radio. Check it out. It has some great interviews on there. That one's solid, right? So that's a great one. Writing great blogs, posting really good, compelling stuff on LinkedIn. Okay, not just posting stuff and then links to your blog. Have you thought about doing this? And then a link to your blog, or check out my new book and then a link to buy the book. No, post things that people care about things that, that they will read. And they're like, man, this guy's a true thought leader. He really knows what he's talking about. And engage with people. Take 30 minutes to an hour and actually write and put, blogs out, or I'm sorry, messages together to either do outreach or on LinkedIn, or you're commenting on people's posts and you're engaging with people, and you have a strategy on what kind of content you're publishing on a daily basis every single week, and what you're going to be saying, and all those things. That is building a media company. These are all next level things that we're trying to build here at Rapmate, and this is what you should be doing as well too. I've done these things, but these are one of the areas that works. And then the most important thing is pick 1 or 2 channels and just go all in on it. I picked 1 channel, and this is it. Now, I'm not doing great on the LinkedIn channel. I should be posting more often, but that's on me. I probably need to put more time into that, and I'll adjust that. But where I'm getting to is that I went all in on this channel, and I'm getting really good at it. All right. And I would probably even argue I'm already really good at this. But do that and just give it all. Don't try to blanket this entire thing. Don't take what's being produced in this channel and then see that if you can, hey, I'm just going to turn this into a video and put it on YouTube. I'm going to slap it everywhere. Don't do those things. Don't just paste one thing and then paste it into 20 different places. Leverage that channel and how to work that channel with what you've produced already. So what I'm saying is that if you were going to have a podcast, then you can probably take snippets of this podcast and then put it into your LinkedIn posts. Or you can take this podcast and create a blog about it and then have a link to this podcast. And then you can take snippets of the blog post that you just had and put it into a post. But then you don't put the post link in the actual post, you put it in the comment section. And in the comment or in the post itself, you're just talking about stuff and educating and sharing and giving knowledge and letting people engage and responding and all those things. And then you continue to build that audience. When you build a media company, you no longer have to sell as much. And what you have to do is just keep giving a lot of value. that is probably the best play that you can have right now in B2B. Okay? And the reason is because no one wants to be sold. Nobody wants to be sold. That's plain and simple. So the more valuable content that you put out there, the better. Like our next play, I'm not going to say this can happen this quarter, maybe Q1, is creating a podcast that is targeting strategic accounts. And we will be talking about something in the marketing realm. Okay? We can't just talk about vehicle wraps because there's only so much you can talk about that. But we will be talking about other things. And we'll be talking with leaders, the people that we want to do business with. And that's it. So like that's where I'm getting to is like if you want to start, penetrating into different markets and get a following, position yourself as a media company and you will slowly start seeing that. Like Gary Vaynerchuk has got very good information about that kind of stuff. Look him up. But that's kind of what I talk about whenever I do these presentations that I do at these franchise expos, is that like one of my secrets is building a media company and how that's done. And, building a media company is different things, like speaking engagements that are outside of, what you're doing. Like if you get invited to a conference and go speak, that's how you can build a media company because that content can be reproduced. Publishing on social media, obviously like, creating blog posts, having a really clean website, creating a very good review campaign, but then also like commenting on those on those reviews. Like those are all elements of the media company, And so I'm not saying do all of them, but what I'm saying is like pick a handful, 1 or 2 or 3, and go all in on them and be really good at it. And then start kind of like, all right, this worked here. How can we figure out this piece and this piece and this piece? And that's it. All right, so that's it. So if you guys found that very helpful, if everybody found that very helpful on just like building a media company, I hope that was, because I love talking about this. This is a great platform to do it. Then I'd ask you to do one of 3 things. Number 1, give us a review on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts. Number 2, connect with me on LinkedIn. You can find me on linkedin.com/Javier. linkedin.com/in/Javier Lozano Jr. And then the third thing is share this podcast with somebody else. So DM them, send them a text message with a link to this podcast, whatever it is, but be super duper helpful if you can do that, because we're trying to grow this podcast. I'm growing it the true organic way. We're not running ads to this. We're not doing anything. We're literally just doing outbound reach outs on LinkedIn, asking people to check out the podcast if they download it, that sort of stuff. And we're getting quite a bit of people interested in this. Like by the time you listen to this podcast, we should probably be breaking 2,000 or 2,500 downloads already by then. And so we're getting great success and things are growing. We've broken over 80 podcasts by the time you're listening to this as well too. We're probably going to be like venturing into the 90 podcasts. And then by the time we hit 100, that'd be like our 1 year mark, which is, a huge accomplishment, a ton of dedication. But this is my strategy of building that media company. Just like literally model what I just did. Like if you are trying to figure out how to do that, just model everything I just did. Just be like, all right, Javier did this. I'm going to model this. I'm going to model this. That's what I do for about 99% of the things that I try to create. I don't try to create things fresh. I model what other people have done that is successful. And that's one of those secrets that not a lot of people will tell you. But anyways, hope you found this good. Other than that, if you have any other questions, hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm happy to engage and talk to you. But have a great day, and I'll talk to everybody later.